not yet.
Go back. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be talking to you about the Endangered Species Act. I'm going to start off with a story about the reintroduction of the wolves to Yellowstone National Park. In 1926, the very last wolf in the park was killed off. Between the time of 1926 and when they were reintroduced in 1996, the population of elk grew, and because of this, the park ecosystem, I guess, became like more rugged, and there wasn't as many trees or plants. There was only one colony of beavers due to the fact that there weren't as many trees from the roaming of the elk. But when the wolves were reintroduced in 1996, the scientists have been observing ecological changes within the park since. The reintroduction of the wolves led to a traffic cascade of ecological change. This change included a decline in the elk population, which led to flourishing meadows and vegetation, which led to sturdier ground and growth of more vegetation. The rivers eroded less and stopped collapsing into themselves because of the sturdier ground. And scavengers that lived off the elk that were killed by the wolves their population began to grow, and there were more beavers and birds because of the amount of trees that began to grow. The wolves' impact on the ecosystem was extremely significant, and it changed not only the ecosystem and the geography of the park because of the rivers. So, this is important because animals are important to our ecosystem. Now, why you should care about the Endangered Species Act? I'll tell you what it is first. First, the species sets provisions and boundaries to protect and conserve endangered and threatened species. This defines what an endangered or a threatened species is. It protects ecosystems that these animals live in, from ranching, logging, oil drilling. They've been doing this for the last 45 years. According to the National Resource Defense Council, 99% of species covered have been saved. Some of these species that have been saved are manatees, the whooping crane, grizzly bears, and the American eagle. Now the problem that's going on currently is that the Trump administration is currently trying to strip key provisions of the act. They're trying to make it more difficult for threatened species to be protected. They're exempting factors like climate change on environmental impact reports. Instead, they're looking at economic factors when protecting a species. It removes the requirement of federal agencies to speak with environmental specialists when going to work on a certain area or protected habitat. They're making it easier to gain gas and oil drilling permits and logging permits they're making it easier to get them on protected land. The cause of this is the act is 45 years old. Both parties, Democrats and Republicans, agree that they need to work on it because it's so old. The modern vision of conservation includes federalism, public-private partnerships, and marketplace solutions. So basically they're focusing more on the money than the animals themselves. They say they would like to apply the best science possible, but that's not entirely true. They want clarification on the act itself on what's considered a threatened species. The solutions to keeping the Trump administration from stripping these acts would to be sign petitions, submit a letter to your local newspapers, call your senators and representatives, educate yourself on the topic, and to sign up to be a state species guardian. These were offered by these solutions were offered by the Endangered Species Coalition. They offered a petition you could sign to send to president, and they also offered all these. They also offered information for you to go sign up as a state species guardian. Now the opposition, which is the Trump administration. They require federal agencies to specify what information is needed from developers so agencies can complete, review, and eliminate permitting delays. So basically they're trying to make it faster so they don't have to focus on more important things like the climate change and all of that. They want to change to the designation process of unoccupied critical habitats, which means lands on an unoccupied area will not be forced to prove the severity of what buildings affects on the environment unless the land is necessary to protect the species. So if this is, let's say, a grizzly bear den, or where grizzly bears happen to roam more often, if it's not necessary for the grizzly bears to be there, then they can work on that land. These are supposed to encourage private property owners to work more closely with government officials and environmental groups, although they are not including environmental groups in this process. So, to finish up, in the story about the Yellowstone wolves, you could see how important their impact was to the ecosystem and how all the other animals began to flourish because of their reintroduction. Now imagine missing some key animals like polar bears and the food chain and such. The animal's impact affects the whole planet itself. The Trump administration is focusing more on corporations and making more money rather than saving the animals themselves, which is only going to lead to destruction of the earth. So some things you guys could do is just speak up, sign up, rally together. Like you could all do something simple as signing a petition just to make your impact. So, does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. Thank you all. I really appreciate it.